Hello, Martin. Welcome to episode 106 of Illuminating Rounds. I have hay fever. How are you doing?
I'm all right. I had no idea we were about to start then, so you took me
And you
completely
know
by
why you
surprise
didn't?
there.
Because you're looking in the wrong place in the camera. Get your camera. Slide your
Sorry, didn't
camera.
know. I need because I need to move you
There you go.
across. There we go. It's so difficult, isn't it, not to look at the person you're talking to, but to look at the camera. So
Yeah,
just move the camera.
got to do both. Yeah. How have you
Yeah, no,
been?
we're good. We're good.
You're all good. Yeah.
Yeah,
Good. So we are going to look today at shouting into the storm.
yeah,
So our last scenario caused not controversy, but it caused some debate and discussion about like the best way of defending. This one had a bit of a rules trickiness in terms of
mm,
riders and frigid streams and the like, which we'll talk about
yeah,
a little bit in a
yeah.
bit. But it was Gary Fortenberry suggestion and design. Gary obviously is a superstar scenario designer. Makes our heads hurt when we play. This one's
Yeah.
actually one of the more simple ones, I thought.
In a sense, yeah. In a sense,
Obviously, it
yeah,
was nuanced in terms of its attack and defense, but in terms of its
yeah.
victory conditions, there was no algebra needed for this one.
No, no.
So, what have you been up to anyway? What have you been up to?
Me, so I watched Cross of Iron last night.
Ah,
I think we've actually discussed Cross of Iron.
yeah,
Have we discussed
yeah,
Cross of
I
Iron?
think so.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no. It's such a peculiar film that I kind of quite enjoy watching it. So I
right.
just found myself, with a bit of time, and that came up as a suggestion on Amazon Prime. So I
Right.
watched it. But yeah,
Now you didn't watch, or you only watched a little bit of the one I suggested to you the other day, which
I
was
couldn't bear it. Yeah, I
the
couldn't get into it at
Stalingrad, the
all.
Russian version of the Stalingrad,
Yeah, yeah.
which I thought
I,
was
I,
all
I
right.
wondered if I was watching the correct film because this didn't seem to have anything to recommend it. It was just, but perhaps I should have persevered.
You should have persevered. Yeah, you should definitely persevere with
Mm.
it. So I watched the German Stalingrad to start, which is kind of classic, isn't it? It's
Yeah,
they start off so happy in Italy,
yeah,
don't they, on the banks
yeah.
of whatever it is, the Mediterranean or something, having their rest and refit, and then eventually, it kind of just gets bleaker and bleaker and bleaker.
Does get bleak. Mm.
And the Stalingrad one, the Russian Stalingrad one, which is on YouTube as well, you can find it's in two parts, and it is a bit bizarre. So there is subtitles and Russian narration, which is kind of
Yeah,
it's quite unusual. But they did that because I think they were worried about the literacy rate in Russia, so they wanted people to understand
mm.
and to be able to follow along with the film. And it
Mm.
does have Winston Churchill speaking, or actor playing Winston Churchill, kind of doing Winston Churchill impressions, and a Hitler and a Stalin and all these kind of guys. But
Do
it
they
kind
speak English
yes,
and German or
yeah,
yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
And so you can kind of just about hear Churchill doing his Churchill impression
yeah,
underneath the narrator, kind of narrating the
yeah,
subtitles. But it's worth watching. It is, you're
yeah.
right. It starts off like, oh, this looks terrible.
I'll try again. I'll
Try
try
again.
again.
Okay, try again. Because it is, and I mean, okay, look, don't get me wrong. It shows its age when, it's one of those films where soldiers die by throwing their arms up and then throwing themselves
Mm.
to the ground. It's that kind of a
Yeah, yeah,
thing.
yeah,
And it's laden with propaganda. I mean, it's
yeah,
but at the same time, it's interesting because it does show you the war at the top level.
yeah,
Stalin and Hitler a little bit and Churchill a little bit. Discussing what's going on all the way through to
yeah,
the generals, and you'll kind of recognise these generals and
yeah,
the majors and the colonels, I'm pretty certain what they did was they took all the little stories that have been written about in memoirs or stuff, and they've kind of wove it into a film. So you
yeah,
see all the kind of the major kind of clips of each part of it. So
yeah.
it's worth watching, I think, from
Okay.
a war
I
perspective.
will give it another go. But I just remembered I watched a film. This film, right? So do you were talking about old films, and like if you look at old World War One, two films, British American films. I mean, they show a very very specific kind of like narrative, of how brave and tough we all are, and how evil the enemy are, kind of thing, don't they? So it's like this idea of propaganda exists kind of from all angles. But I watched a modern World War II film, and at first I didn't like it because it reminded me a little bit of Joe Wicks, because these guys are a little bit too kind of, German's dead, whatever. But
Right.
it's called The School for Ungentlemanly
Oh,
Warfare.
okay. I'm going to watch it.
Have you,
Yeah, it's on my list to
right,
watch. Yeah.
right, it's very, very good, right? And the thing is, I watched that through and I thought, it's just not realistic, and it's sort of putting me off. But actually, the whole story is true.
Yes.
I mean, and that's that. I didn't realise that till the end when the pictures come up of
Yeah.
these guys.
This is about them
And the
capturing a ship, or they were supposed to sink a ship.
yes, that's right, a supply ship. So the basic storyline is that the German U-boats are being supplied by an Italian. Italy's not in the war yet. An Italian ship, which you can't sink because it's Italian. And it's operating from a West African port in a Spanish colony, which you can't attack because Spain's not in the war, and obviously they want to bring half of Europe into the war against the British. So they basically just get a bunch of criminals to do it, and they say, look, if you're captured, we're not going to do anything to help you. We're going to go, yeah, no idea who they are. They're sent to destroy this ship.
Yeah.
It's nuts,
Yeah.
absolutely
Is it
nuts.
Guy Ritchie? Is it Guy Ritchie that?
He's the director,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
Or producer.
Yeah.
I'm never quite sure I understand the difference between those two jobs, which
Right.
probably shows that I'm a moron. But it's definitely Guy Ritchie.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's got that
And
style.
it's very Guy Ritchie, and because it's such a modern sort of portrayal.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
I
enjoy watching
have been recommended it. I know it's just turned up on Amazon Prime. So
yeah. So I so enjoyed it that it made me start looking into buying projectors so I can watch TV at night outside in the garden.
Wow. Okay.
Because I've got a nice little gazebo now and a little heater and stuff like that. So
And presumably,
I thought, what, that would have been perfect, sat outside watching that.
a midget net as well. You've got the kind of from your Scotland trip. You can sit out the garden.
Yeah, I could sit there with that on. Yeah,
Nice.
Nah, it's all right. We got a few mosquitoes, but I don't mind mosquito bites. Some
Nobody's
people
ever
moan
said
about it.
that,
They just
ever.
don't bother me. They don't bother me. If I got a couple of mosquito bites, it just reminds me that I'm enjoying the summer. It's fine. It's fine.
Jeez. Okay. All right. Well,
Midges, that's another matter. Midges are evil. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Let's talk about Shattered into the Storm for a while.
Yeah.
Although I did want to talk to you about, it was interesting. Mark Pixfidge had a nice thread on Facebook about what do people enjoy most about ASL? Like, what's the one thing?
Oh, I didn't see that.
Yeah, it's just nice kind of thing. And they're kind of interesting. There was three main things that kind of came up, and they're all kind of mutually incompatible, really. One was well, two of them are kind of compatible. Defensive fire phase. People love the fact that you are engaged all the way through a turn, so there's no downtime, and the enjoyment of rate and fire. And then the other one was the friends we've made along the way. Now, if you have a great defensive fire, a great rate of fire, the friends we've made along the way tend to drop off quite quickly. But yeah, I thought it was quite good. It was nice kind of.
That's nice. Yeah. I think it's fascinating why people like the game, because I think you kind of assume people are like-minded, and they're not really. Even me and you are kind of not like-minded in terms of what appeals to us about the game. Obviously, to some extent we are, but and I do think it's quite an interesting subject.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and I think when you play people tournaments or you meet someone you play, sometimes we've met Bob and we've been playing Bob. Bob loves the historical tank aspect of it.
Yeah.
That's what he's all about. It's all about that kind of side of it.
And he was good friends with Ian Dalglish, and they used to play, and Ian was fascinated by the historical side as well.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wrote historical books about these
exactly.
things,
Yeah, exactly. And some people love it for the challenge of the game itself, like to try and beat the game and understand the rules and see the comprehensive. Some people love the the Japanese, just want to play the Japanese. It's And
it's essentially like a sequence of puzzles, a series of mutually connected puzzles, isn't it? So if you love solving puzzles, so I don't know that I can speak for Jim really, but the impression I get from Jim Bishop is that he quite likes that problem solving element to the game, and I'm not even sure that I don't think that's partly what Toby gets from it as well. Actually, I wonder if it'd be interesting to know whether they agree with that, or whether other kind of like high profile, very good quality players, whether that's something they got in common or not.
That's very true. And I think in a way, so Toby likes the idea of trying to crack the scenario, doesn't he? Toby wants to kind of understand the pieces and the defense and how best to make the attack, depending on the side. And Jim,
Yeah.
I think, is an expert of understanding the rules and how they interact with the scenario.
Mm.
And so
Yeah.
both of them obviously have very, very good tactical awareness and understanding of the game, but they do have a slight difference in their take on the game. And I guess that all good players, like I played Plaver and I played J.R. Tracy, those guys, and they just get the scenarios. They just get what they've got to do. In that
Yeah.
in that sense, I get the feeling that you and I like to watch the story play out without
Mm.
really understanding what everything's happening until the end of it, and then we can look back on it and go, "Oh, that was pretty good."
It's quite often that we played a scenario, and at the end of it, one of us will go, "Oh, actually, if you'd have done this,
Yeah.
and you kind of like only really crack the scenario when it's over or halfway through, perhaps."
That's very true, and that's very timely
Mm.
because in the scenario we're playing
Mm.
right now, which we're not going to talk about today, but we'll just mention this bit.
Yeah.
That ain't a rock or something like that. I think in
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
Korean War.
Yeah. And
And
rock is spelled ROK.
right, yeah. So you've found a tactic out just as we're kind of, I'd say, midway through playing. I mean, I'm a one turn in. You haven't
I
pushed a
haven't
counter
even
yet.
taken a turn yet.
Yeah.
No. So I realised that when we were playing, that it's very, very hot. The conditions are very hot, which makes it really, really much easier to start fires. And it looks like the Americans got a really, really tough job. But it suddenly occurred to me, if I make lots of fires, it's really going to limit your kind of area of advance, and it will spread really quickly because it's very dry. Sorry, very dry is the rule, not very hot, very dry. And funnily enough, we finished after just your turn, so I never got to do it. And I didn't set up to do it, which is a shame. But a good friend of ours, Ben Jones, happened to notice on Vassal that we were playing it. It's a scenario he really likes, and he sent me a message saying, like, have you caught on to the significance of the very hot yet? And I kind of had, but he drew my attention to phosphorus grenades,
Yeah.
phosphorus in 1945 bazookas, just all of the plethora of ways that the Americans have in this particular scenario
Right.
to start fires. So it's going to be really interesting
It
when
is.
we get together to play it.
We gave you the
I
balance as
just wish
well.
I thought you gave us the balance. So the impression I got from Ben is that he feels that if you don't set fires, it's unbalanced.
Right.
And the balance is not hugely consequential, is it? It's a
The balance was, I think,
better ELR.
that's right, exactly that, yeah. And
Yeah.
I think you failed straight away. You failed your ELRs as if it was no.
Yeah, exactly. My first morale failure was by more than the improved ELR, so it's made no difference so far.
But yeah,
But Ben feels it's a really, really good scenario.
and it's a great example of, like, we look at the balance of scenario, and it looks ridiculously pro Korean, doesn't it? North Korean. And so we gave you the balance because, of course, like, why wouldn't we? And then you realise that there's not a trick to it, but a very important tactic that you've got to employ, really, and you've got to understand in that scenario.
Yeah.
And it probably makes the scenario very, very, very balanced. So don't just go with the balance reports, especially of newer scenarios, isn't it? Because and the trouble is that scenarios get a little bit of a reputation after, I would say, 10, 11 scenarios played.
Yeah.
If you see a 9-2 or 8-3 scenario, you're kind of wary, aren't you, of the scenario's balance? Even though we generally know, especially with officially produced scenarios, they will have gone through a significant amount of play testing, and they will have gone through enough good players having looked at it to think, okay, well, this isn't completely unbalanced,
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
But I think you're right about the narrative. Me and you, I get excited in slow motion watching positions being like swarmed and overrun and things like that. So
as is a feature of age, to get excited in slow motion. But enough of your outside hobbies. Right. Okay. So we're going to take a look at
shouting into the storm.
Shouting into the storm.
And
should we start with my one to start with?
Yes.
As I've got it loaded up here. So, do you want to talk to us about the scenario, Martin? And I'll
yes, certainly. We can see the Russians set up there as we're looking at it on the right, and the Germans set up on board for most of their forces, but some of their forces can set up off board. Both sides have some choices. And also some Russian tanks come on turn Is it turn 3 or 4?
Yeah.
Something like that.
Well, maybe
Yeah.
even earlier than that. Maybe
It
two.
might actually depend on
Yeah,
which. Yeah.
turn two, I
Oh, I
think.
think you do a roll. You have to roll for it. Yeah. You have
Okay.
to roll for it.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, and the victory conditions is that at the end the Germans have to control the 2 buildings with the V's in them. That's that one, and let's see, the other red spot might
Somewhere
appear
down here. That's
here.
right.
Yeah, and then the 2 road intersections here,
Right.
and that's essentially it. The issue is that the Russians can't properly defend the bridge, but the bridge is the best way of getting across the river because it's frigid, isn't it? And
That's
if
right.
it's frigid, it means that any infantry that go through it ELR, don't they, on their way through?
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
We've got there was, I think it was one squad and support weapon and leader were able to set up in the left-hand side building,
Yes.
or around
yes.
here somewhere.
But clearly Mike's chosen not to because they can't set up HIP. There are some HIPs for the Russians.
Right. Got some
think, aren't
guns.
there?
You got some guns, haven't they? They've got the 57L guns, double L guns.
Yes. They've got 2 57L guns and potentially a 100L gun, depending on which group they can basically go for a group of with a 100L gun, an anti-tank gun, or with flamethrowers.
Right. And one of the rules we're going to see misplayed a few times by various players is that riders cannot go through this stream. So one kind of clever way, if you like, is to try and you know, from a common sense point of view, which I know we can never apply to ASL, but you'd think, okay, well, riders sitting on top of a tank going through a frigid stream shouldn't really be affected. But by definition of the index, a frigid stream is a water obstacle, and passenger riders, crew, or certainly the passengers and the riders can't go through water obstacles. So because it's a frigid,
because it's a stream, a frigid stream, it's a water obstacle. So in fact, riders can't go through at all. They can't even go through and take the penalty that as if they'd run through it. They can go through as infantry.
Exactly, and they'll ELR. So the question for the Germans, I guess, is what are you going to do? Are you going to risk are you going to take the ELRs, or are you going to risk the bridge?
Yeah.
If
and there's a lot of benefits to the Germans being able to attack from different directions instead of that very narrow attack through the bridge. Although crossing the bridge should be straightforward for the Germans.
Right, exactly. So this scenario, Mike decided not to defend here, and so I basically just thought, okay, I'll take advantage of that and come straight through. So I'll start running through my scenario. So basically, just run everybody as much as I can through, bring the Tigers to bear as best we can, and we'll see what else goes on. Do the Germans have a choice? I can't remember if the Germans have a choice of.
Yes. So they've got this at start forces, and then on turn 1 they can bring on either 3 838s with a flamethrower and some DCs, or they can bring in 4.5 548s with a hero and a 9-1.
Okay.
So they've got basically the flamethrower versus perhaps slightly more infantry.
Yeah. So I went with the 838s because 838s are just absolute beasts of.
Well, they're beasts, and they've got the flamethrower as well, haven't they? Which is just such a good weapon. This is exactly the kind of scenario where you want to. Yeah. You can actually bring it to bear.
Yeah. So I attempted to go through the stream with the tanks. Bogged my first guy, but got through the second guys.
Yeah.
So one bog was not too bad. Mike took a little bit of shots at me, but these Tigers. I mean, in this scenario, I felt like this is like ASL for new players who want to play with amazing tanks, because these Tigers just are almost unopposable. I mean, they are incredible. They just sit there, they turn up, they've got great machine guns, they've got great firepower. You don't really need them to move a very long distance.
Of course, the Russians are weak on light anti-tank weapons, handheld anti-tank weapons.
Exactly.
And stuff,
so my plan really was to come through the middle and then split off, through this kind of way here up.
Yep.
yeah, and down and see what was going on and see where things were being defended in depth. And you can see that I kind of got off fairly lightly here. And as I
Yeah.
started to move, I kind of realised I didn't think I was bringing enough guys to the top of the board. I was kind of a bit
Yeah.
nervous, but I figured the 838s were going to get that job to do that. So the 838s kind of wander off up there. Oh, we got this 105 as well. This amazing. Is this a big Stug? I think something like that. It's a big.
Oh yes, yeah.
Yeah, it's just a.
It's
one of
good
those-
for smoke as well, isn't it?
Well, if you're a player that uses smoke, I don't know. It's not what it's cracked up to be, smoke. So yeah, we just enjoy it. The problem is, I mean, every time this thing fires, everybody just has to get out of the way of it. Really, I think that's the problem.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So yeah, we've got that, and that's a great way of getting Russians just to persuade them to move ever so slightly. You kind of asking them politely to move. So I'm in basically in the outskirts of the buildings. The Russians have
Here's
some
the tanks. Yeah.
they have some anti-tank mines, don't they, that they can set up
Yes.
that become visible when we have line
Yeah,
of
they've
sight
got
to them.
4 anti-tank mine factors, and they can't be converted into anti-personnel.
Okay. So as you can see, the Russians dancing around the acquisition counters, and to me it never felt like the Russians had enough to stop any big push for the Germans. So I'm going to be intrigued to see how well the Russians do in this one, because
Yes.
it feels like the skilled player has to be on the Russian side to make this like a good fight. It feels like the easier side to play is the Germans once you're over that initial kind of open ground
Yeah.
area. And 7.5 turns, by the way, 6.5 turns. It's a lot of time, isn't it, for what is effectively like a map and a half's width to get. Now the problem is that you're kind of playing 2 scenarios, aren't you? You're playing one on the top board and one on the bottom board, and you've got to win them both as the Germans to really to win the scenario. So the Russians do have that advantage of being able to defend one in greater depth. So as you can see, I kind of push through. The flamethrower here for the Russians is pretty grim. I've got to kind of work my way through that. So I end up just trying to overpower it with lots of guys, which you have to hope is, you give them too many targets. The rate of fire on flamethrowers is notoriously bad. I've mouthed one of my lesser tanks, but we get a nice shot from Mike here, taking out the squad here with the Panzerschreck.
Oh yeah, nice.
But it does mean I get into the the building.
Yeah. Definitely got some sort of concentration of German firepower in 2 little clusters.
Yeah. And so we're on, turn 3 here?
Yeah, quite a bit of time to go.
But this flamethrower is holding up well. The problem is it's going to have to pull back at some point. If it doesn't,
it's got the possibility of wall advantage at the moment, hasn't it?
Yep.
Yeah. Which it won't have shortly if it's not careful. Oh, he's pinned. That doesn't help.
Yeah. So into close combat.
Locked in melee.
Yeah. So I clear this one out. I think I cleared a little bit of it out.
Be quite handy capturing that flamethrower directly opposite from the victory condition building. Although presumably it malfunctions on an 8, I assume.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
And if you haven't got any, you have got elite units.
Right. Yep. So I fire into the melee.
Yeah.
Magically fire, hurting his guy. My guy just gets pinned, which is pretty much the best result.
Yep.
But the top building's still holding strong.
Yeah. You haven't really begun the assault yet, have you?
That's right. Yeah.
Did the minefields have to be put on when they were visible?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, that explains it. Yeah.
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 we get the guy comes out of that. I can't remember if that was not in melee, but I think he has to withdraw, and maybe I miss him in close combat, so
Yeah.
he gets away.
Do you know that the elite German units, the 838s are assault engineers? It's quite rare you see people use them to actually clear mines.
Right? Yeah. Yeah.
They're actually quite good at it. I
Yeah.
think they get like a -2 on the clearing dice roll.
Yep. That's right. Yeah. So I get the KIA on the unit with the
Yeah.
flamethrower, thanks to the
Nice.
-1 for the flamethrower.
Pushing through.
Yep.
I thought that building at the bottom would last quite well, but it's surprisingly difficult. It's surprisingly good to attack once you get the force moving in like you are. They're in force along a broad front.
Now we have the anti-tank gun here up in that's kind of revealed itself up here, and that's a bit of a problem.
I'd agree. Got a lot of vulnerable units.
Yeah, exactly. And it's good rate of fire, and it will take tanks out, as we'll see.
Well, the Germans are now in the building.
So I have to make
Fox is in the hen house.
The foxes are, but I've got there's a fight for it, but there's only one 838 kind of able to push on. The 628s aren't trivial to.
No, exactly. No, especially at some close range.
Yeah, 238's kind of ready to go in there, but Tigers were kind of wandering around, and this is where the Tigers are so good. They can just kind of happily, I say happily, walk around. I mean, it's not great, but it's as long as they don't get the side hits, they're going to be generally okay here. The sniper, the sniper takes this gun out, which is very useful. Oh, it gets a pin on it. This does just help.
See, we were talking before. I know people who would be really annoyed by something like that in the game.
Yeah,
the kind of like bad luck in a sense.
It is bad luck as well. I mean, my
absolutely, it's bad luck. Yeah. But there are other people, I think me and you included, who perhaps don't always enjoy it when it goes against you. But actually, those kind of crazy swings are a part of the narrative and a part of the excitement of the game, the tension of the game, actually.
Exactly. So at this point, I mean, the Tigers are able to see these two tanks.
Yeah.
I don't think Mike used this tank right at the bottom down in R4 as well as he could have done. I think there was kind of let me get away with bringing my tanks into bear a little bit more than perhaps he could have done. They could have come around the side, perhaps. The front on combats are always going to be difficult for the Russians. So we kind of we do.
It needs to roll a bit lower than that, Dave. Like 11s and 10s.
Yeah, I can't complain about my rolling this one. So we're kind of pushing in, regrouping for the. I mean, this stack here, the 9-2, 5-4-8s, 8-3-8s, isn't terrible. We push on.
Yeah.
The Tigers doing what Tigers do. Just taking tanks out down here.
Blowing up tanks. Top buildings crumbled, hasn't it? You've still got some forces nearby, but I think you're about to take control of that building,
this 57 LL has destroyed a tank, and in theory I got lucky getting this one past. So
it's actually not a bad place for it at all.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Tigers are encircling, getting these guys around the back, so to push these guys right at the bottom out of the buildings. Trying to pick this flamethrower up isn't easy in front of the heavy machine gun 9-2.
24 -2.
-3.
-4 if you if you're not assault moving.
And -5 if I grab the flamethrower.
Oh yes, of course.
However, Tigers are a good job at clearing these guys out eventually. And poor old Mike, he's kind of caught between a rock and a hard place. It's a great place for heavy, but he doesn't have a lot of places to be able to sort of scoot back to.
No. I mean, you got the row house thing. They're not row houses, but these hexes are not directly
Yeah.
connected.
Yeah. So I throw the tank into motion
Yeah,
into these hex to stop him firing
yeah,
out.
yeah,
And then, I'm able to kind of get adjacent to him.
yeah,
This poor guy in M7 or W7 can't fire at the two adjacent
mm,
guys because of the row house.
yeah,
There's a spare tank's just able to just play around really.
yeah.
And we do a bit of firing. We're going to win this.
Yeah, you're on turn 5. You've got 2 more turns,
Yeah,
so I think it's starting to be very much
yeah,
clearly in your favour.
yeah.
Yeah,
Big
big
melee.
close combat
Now
there.
this
Big
melee up
melee.
the top here. I mean, to be
Yeah,
fair, if he rolls low here, I mean, I know it's almost impossible to do it,
sure.
but I mean that's one of those ones where you'll win a game on that one by a
Yeah, yeah.
nice double one. It's a very risky shot. I roll an 11.
Which isn't good enough, is it?
No,
Mike 6 is also not good enough unless he was attacking like one squad or
yeah,
something.
I don't remember if he was going for. I think he was going for 2,
Yeah, yeah.
but yeah. So we're still
Flamethrower in action.
yeah,
Or at least it's in controlled now. Yeah, it's starting to look very difficult
yeah,
for the Russians. Still got a heavy machine gun right to the end and
yeah.
an anti-tank gun.
You see that the anti-tank gun takes out a squad
Yeah,
that's got the inside the minefield.
yeah,
This one is the another 57L double L
he's got a couple of squads really at the wrong place, aren't they? Really, the 4, 5,
down the
8 on the
bottom.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Mm.
They kind of it's got kind of shepherded there like kind of
yeah,
sheepdogs around the back.
yeah, yeah. Well,
Yeah, Tiger's firing
this
him,
is yeah.
and then
Okay, so
basically we
he's yeah,
break the guys, and Mike calls it there
yeah,
with
yeah,
with another break. So I got the win there. Mike was a great opponent to play, very very friendly, very
yeah.
nice guy,
He is a nice guy. I've played him a
and
couple of times. Yeah,
so
mm.
really enjoyed it.
Yeah,
Really tough. I thought this was a really tough one of the Russians.
yeah.
So
Be interesting to see what the balance is on our playings just from
yes,
this tournament.
exactly that,
Mm.
exactly. So that was my game.
Okay.
Yeah, fairly straightforward, but a good fun and well played, Mike, for a good enjoyable game.
Yeah.
All right, let's take a look at the next one. All right, Martin. So what's the next one?
Okay, so this is me playing Dave Maresque, and I actually feature in 2 of our games because I play sort of a friendly against Steve Slunt because Richard Webb unfortunately wasn't able to participate in this round. So you'll see me again, but I'm the Russians in the other one and the Germans in this one.
Okay.
Right, I suppose I better get started then.
All right. So are you gonna go through the river, or are you just gonna go straight over the bridge? I guess.
I'm going to go straight over the bridge. They're even in a triangular formation,
Yeah, I
which
like
looks
it.
really, really good.
Yeah.
I'm a little bit confused where my off-board units are. Oh, there they are. Okay. Oh, right. All those. I think I had them hit. That's why.
Okay.
Okay. So, already run forward. Had a little bit of a shot at me. Okay. So, nice fire lane. Able to kind of like sort of dodge it, but I can't get as far forward as I would like.
Mm-hmm.
I know I struggled a little bit with that. Pressing forward. Plan really is to just get right in his face with the tanks.
Yeah.
And they're relatively safe if he hasn't got a big gun there somewhere.
Now that's brave going CE with the Tigers this early on.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I'm not a good player, am I?
you never claimed to be a great player.
I never pretended that.
Well, I just think you're just snipers and stuff. But I mean,
yeah, you're absolutely right. And actually, the Russian sniper is only 2.
Okay.
So perhaps that figured in it.
Yeah.
But I'm wanting to get those. I just want to hit him hard early on. That was kind of what I want to do, really. And actually, it's difficult because you can see most of his forces is beyond my my kind of reach. But by bullying these guys away, I might be able to move better next turn. I guess that's sort of what I'm thinking.
So did you go with which ones did you go with? The 838s or the?
I believe I have the 838s. Okay. Yes, I do. Yeah, okay. I have the 838s. So we've already got a couple of one Russian brokey.
Yep.
Still my turn 1, isn't it? Yeah, another Russian Brokey. So that really was the, mind you, it's only a leader, I think, the one on the bottom. So he's spreading out those little groups now. It's quite a good use of stacking them like that. Allows the Russians to use their concealment counters a bit more efficiently. Okay, so it's the Russian tourney, so we've got to see them moving about.
You may have mouthed your first
tiger. Yeah,
immobilise it as well.
So I immobilise it, yeah. So it always feels silly when you go for an ESB, or isn't it, and you do that, but it did. Also revealed a 57 LL gun.
Okay.
Which is good to know.
Yep.
Always good to know where they are. And I thought that was a really good position for the heavy machine gun at the bottom there with Lebedev. I believe that's the heavy. Yeah. So it also tells us which group Dave has gone for. Yeah, that's the heavy. Yeah. Okay. So it gives me something to think about. Like straight for this in his face with that. Also malfunctioned the gun on the immobile tank, which I thought, you know what, it's not immobile in a terrible place. I can get used of it. No, it's not. And then I don't even think of getting the crew out until much later in the game. I do eventually get the crew out. But yeah, not yet. So yeah, the whole plan is to try and, where he stands, is to make him suffer. Because if he's slowing me down, at least I can, take some of his force out, perhaps. This is my nice little group here under Lutz. This is the 838s. They got the flamethrower, a couple of DCs at the top, top there. And they're going to do a move I was quite proud of, actually. next turn. Not very often I say that. So I think it's already beginning to be clear. It's quite difficult to stand up to the Germans when they once they bring their firepower to bear. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, Russians scooting about, avoiding getting shot at. Another malfunctioned main armament. In fact, there are now 3 malfunctioned 88mm guns, and I'm not repairing them because the machine guns are brilliant.
Yes. Yeah.
But I kind of rethink that a little bit when I realise I got almost nothing and his tanks are going on.
Right. Yeah. That's the problem.
Yeah. So the thing is now is I don't want him to get away where these guys are DM'd. I don't really want them to escape. So quite a lot of thinking.
How did you lose the tank?
Sorry?
How did you lose this tank down here?
I can't remember.
Okay. All right.
I can't think how that would have been.
Okay. All right.
Perhaps the flamethrower? I don't know. I'm kind of thinking what weapon he has that would do it.
Oh, okay. Well.
Okay. Okay, so here we go. So this is turn 3, bit of prep fire. Another tank blown up. That's from the 57 LL.
Oh, okay, right, yeah, I got it.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. You can see his flamethrower there in the centre. It's those 2 key weapons, the flamethrower and the heavy machine gun, are really powerful in this scenario. So here it is me trying to stop him being able to rout away. You see the little move?
Yeah, all the way out there, yep.
I like that. I was quite proud of that.
Okay. Moving as a stack, you've been told not to.
Yeah, but I knew there was nothing. Did I know? I mean, he could have had a gun there, couldn't he? Do you know what? It's much more by luck than judgment if I do something right. Here we go. I'm mouthed tanks.
No, he's broken his gun.
So I've lost 2 tanks, and I've got main armor disabled on one. That I tried to repair it. That's right. It was even disabled on the immobile tank.
Okay.
So still hard done by on the tanks.
Dave broke his gun.
Yeah, I had plenty of good luck like that. So I'm still struggling to just push through.
Yeah.
Like every time I thought I made a hole, Dave made it so I didn't have a hole. Here come his tanks, and now a little bit worried. So you see, I did a repair attempt, got it, on the tiger on the bottom.
Okay, got it. Yep.
I think that's the only one this turn, but I don't think it's the only one in the game that I'm able to repair again. I think.
Just want to point out your dice rolls there. You've been rolling some nice.
Oh yeah,
Twos and
no, I mean,
threes.
you know what I'm like, Dave. I mean, poor Dave Moresk just isn't used to people that roll dice like I roll dice. It's a gift.
Yes.
It's a gift. It really is. Yeah, take a shot at that, but no good.
Okay.
He's got these tanks on here now, lobbing shells at me. And look, another one, blazing tank.
Yeah.
But I think I'm getting into the building on the top, and I think I'm going to be all right up there. But he's doing a really good job of stacking everybody into the lower building.
Yep.
And he's got plenty of surprises yet.
So you've got the.
No, because that was a single man counter,
Oh, okay.
so he doesn't get control of it. Here we go. I don't know what I'm trying to do there. Not to one broken unit. I've got like half my force. Here we go. So, plan is that tank there is going to be firing smoke. It's going to be glorious.
Okay.
Guys coming down because I've kind of won at the top. Not much left to fight there.
It looks like you've kind of lost the top though. You've got the 838 in the building. You've still got the pinned. You've still got. So okay. So you've got 1628.
I've got 838 in the building, and I've got the flamethrower and 288.
Right. Okay. I got it up there. Yeah.
So I think I'm beginning to feel reasonable, and the tanks aren't far away if they're needed.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did. He definitely went the long way around there, didn't he? That guy.
Yeah, but he didn't want to get blown up by that Russian tank that's gone behind my lines.
Right.
Coaxial machine gun gone, I think.
You've bogged this
main
one.
armament, right, so the gun with the smoke has mouthed. But everything's broken on the top building now. Okay, so that is definitely falling.
Okay.
And there's only one level on these buildings, so I don't need to worry about searching upstairs.
Right.
Send the Panzerschreck back to deal with the Russian tank.
And there is an extra level on the steeple, isn't there, in this one church?
Yes. Where's the steeple?
Right down here in. Yeah.
Oh yeah. So that didn't come into our game.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I'm not sure what happened then. Okay. Okay, so he's definitely digging in to defend that final building. I think all I've got to do is get that. It'd be easy to get the crossroads because that doesn't seem to be barely defended.
Right.
And in a moment, I've got my tank looking that way. Of course, I haven't got the the crossroads at the top either yet, but that should be easy.
It's got the 100
It's all about this building. Look, blown up a tank, yeah.
Yeah.
Was that my tank or his? That was mine.
Yeah, yours blew up.
Yeah, I thought so. Yeah. But things start to go a little bit better. I've got that tank. That Stug is bogged as well. I don't think I had great luck with the tanks. In other respects, I had great luck, but not in that. Right, so he's malfunctioned his one of his tanks' main armament.
Yep.
I take a nice shot, but it's blocked. But the Germans are closing in on that building at the bottom. We're putting out a couple of put a little victory condition marker in the top building. Okay, here we go. Right, it's going for the old stop him firing out.
Yep.
Okay, I've got that one at the top. Guys moving in from the other direction. Mouthed guns pointing at the Russians from all sorts of directions, and then this happens. Hang on. Oh no, it didn't. Okay, all right. It's going to happen in a minute. So I feel like I'm doing all right.
Yes.
Yeah. I've just got to swarm this building. things are starting to break. They're pinned in there. I can't move in with much yet, but I can advance. And then his gun appears. So he's concealed. So he wins the ambush and kills
Oh
me.
wow! Look at
And then
that.
all of a sudden, I think, right, okay, it's not about the building anymore. It's
Yeah.
about a random hex.
And you've immobilised next to the victory condition.
Yes, yeah. That at least came in handy. Taking out his tank, so doors open now, potentially. All I've got to do is advance in, isn't it?
All you've got to do is advance in. Yep.
Yeah.
And you are on last turn.
Did I just kill his? Yes. So I think the infantry in the control, the crew have gone.
Yep.
So now we're relatively safe for that. It's all really about that building again. So I've moved this. So okay, I'll come clean about this in a moment. I've moved that half squad Aspire Salt presumably
This guy
to
here.
advance into X3.
Right.
Yeah, and assuming I've won the building, all he has to do is advance into to collect that. They all get themselves adjacent. And then there's some final fire, some advancing fire, some breaks, but not everything breaks. There's a leader still in that building, a Russian leader, Lebenev, and a heroic 9 -2. So I've still got to get into the close combat in order to take that
you have
building.
plenty of guys in there.
But loads pile in, and I think I win the close combat.
I hope you did the close combat sequentially.
I can't remember now, but I would have thought so. And Dave's very good with rules. Now, So here's my thing, right? My memory of this game was that I lost it.
Right.
Okay. And then I loaded this up. And I think, well, it kind of looks like I won it.
Yeah.
But I've not moved into X3. And what I genuinely am not sure about is whether I just forgot to do that and lost the scenario. But I think I would have remembered that. Or whether, we were so end game, we were just going, right, we assume I'm going to get that one. We just need to see what happens to the close combat.
Right.
That might be what I genuinely don't know who we decided won this. I've actually emailed Dave and asked him who won. But can I say in my defence that the reason I don't remember who won this is because it was such a good game and came so close to the end.
Right.
And I sincerely believe and feel it doesn't really matter who wins when a game's like that.
I mean, it doesn't matter except for the fact that you're running a tournament where it does matter.
So, what can I say? And it does feel wrong that the person who's supposed to be running the tournament basically has to say to somebody, "Could you tell me if you beat me or not?" Because that's going to be the deciding factor. Is whatever Dave says is going to go.
I mean, on the evidence you presented, Martin, you clearly lost this scenario.
I mean, I'm not in control of X3, am I? Yeah. So
it's down to Dave.
I don't know. I'm sure I'd remember if I'd have done something as stupid as failing to advance in.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah. Do you know what? I can't wait to find out who won. I think we should give it to Dave just for me being such a blundering idiot. But that's my defence. Right. Because a game this good, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. In a tournament, it does matter.
In a tournament. I get that. Yeah. All right.
Okay, so let's move on.
Next one.
Are we going to do another one of your masterclasses where you couldn't remember who's won?
You want to? Okay, are we still recording?
Yeah, we're still recording.
Okay. So the next one is the game that Rob Webb. Sorry, it's not Rob. Richard Webb. I beg your pardon. Richard Webb had to drop out of.
Right.
So Steve Slunt was left without a game. So I offered him, a friendly, and nothing friendly about it. It was a very friendly game. So in this one, I played the Russians. And this morning, when I put these together, I couldn't remember if I'd won or lost. But we had a look through it before, and I've definitely, very, very definitely lost this one.
Can I synchronise with you?
Sync away.
Okay. Well.
so we started off with an issue, because it hadn't occurred to me when we were playing this that you could drive, like the idea of loading passengers onto the tanks and driving them through the stream hadn't occurred to me.
Right.
So I hadn't worked out that you couldn't do it.
Yeah.
So the first thing that happened was I was quite impressed with Steve coming up with the idea of taking his tanks, and I didn't challenge it.
Yeah.
It's only afterwards we were able to work that out. But you can see how beneficial it is because he's got the. So this is we had problems with Vassal and it crashed, so we lost a save. But you can see this is just early on in turn one. I have got a little bit of a forward defence. Yeah, he doesn't last very long. But yeah, you can see how useful it is to have units coming in from other directions.
Now, did you play this one after you played Dave or before?
Absolutely, yeah. It was
so you've seen it run. You've seen it run through. You've seen the Russians struggle a little bit.
Yes,
exactly. Because I liked Dave's defence of this little kind of wood here with the line of sight here was quite nice. It was quite a nice.
No, I agree.
Thing, but hard to get.
I've got the DC there, and I'm kind of thinking, yeah, it'd be quite useful to lob that over something. But anyway, we'll see what happens. The tanks come, of course, straight away. Just simply makes me irrelevant.
You didn't go for the throwing of the demo charge there.
I should have done. Yeah, that was sort of the plan, and I think I was waiting for a different target. It didn't occur to me that tank would move into my hex. So here they come flying across.
Oh, and what's happened to the guys down here in K? Presumably those have come across already.
Yes, exactly. So that happened before we started the log file after we had the problem with Vassal.
And they came through as riders.
They came through as riders. Now, obviously, that wouldn't have been
that's fine.
legal, but that's how we played it.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah. So yeah, my 6 to 8 is in all sorts of trouble. It did occur to me, having already played Dave Maresque, though, that his force is less far forward, perhaps because of that 6 to 8. And so I was kind of wondering, maybe that's has helped me out. But of course, then he does the advances and he doesn't seem so far back.
He's 6 hexes in on his first turn. I mean,
Okay, so I'm trying to provide like a proper sort of front line here.
Okay.
What are we on? Allied, it's just my allied turn.
You've broken a gun already. You broke a gun already up in.
Yeah, right. So I was worried about these guys coming across. I thought, well, look, I've got a great shot there because I've got an anti-tank gun.
Yeah.
It must be a 57. Let's just flip it. 57L. That's good enough to destroy that tank, but obviously I malfunctioned it with the first shot.
Yeah.
Which makes that quite challenging up at the top. I've already got some broken units as well there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, he's we're back in the German turn. So we got getting some reveals. Okay, I'm taking some shots of it. Realistically, I'm not even sure if I should be firing. I'm not really inhibiting him that much with those shots.
Yeah, this is the problem the Russians have, isn't it, with this one?
Yeah. Then he mounts a gun at the top, so that evens things up a little bit. I do get pinned by the machine gun, but he's still got another gun, another tank, and here we're. So this is advances, isn't it? It's okay. No, this is advancing fire, right? So he's starting to break guys.
It just looks
kind of terrifying a little bit.
Yeah, it just looks like the Russians haven't got enough. They just
don't have enough to be affording to have things broken. Luckily, my tanks come on relatively early. I think it come on turn 2 or 3, depending on the dice rolls. So my tanks are coming on. Don't repair the gun. And in fact, I can't repair the gun because the crew has left it. Although I do try to get control of that gun again later, I think. So obviously, I'm falling back, trying to put the tanks in a good position. Defend the bottom building, and we're basically just withdrawing and trying to rally things. And here he comes again. Okay, tank going right the way around there. Bogs, which was handy. Actually, machine guns broken on the other one of his tanks. So he's not having great luck with the weapons systems.
Yeah, he's bogged a tank, broke 2 guns. All in front of your broken.
Yes. It's like, did anyone bring a working gun to this battle? Yeah. So here he comes, getting a few shots off, but I'm not necessarily having that much effect. Pinned, actually, those guys are pinned. And so he's coming in, malfunctioned light machine gun, kind of getting swarmed a little bit. Tanks coming around. Okay, he's seen the minefield, so he's not going to go into that. And now I'm starting to feel already a little bit trapped. Like it's a little bit difficult. It's going to be difficult for me to kind of like get out of this front line. And I think we probably finished our first series, like first game session there, around about here. But I've put it back together, sewn it back together. So we'll just continue. Yeah. So these guys. Okay. There's his advances. Yeah, concealment growth. Right. So it's now me. His rallies. Okay, moving tanks again. Guy, I've made a terrible mistake moving that unit into the open. This is the heavy machine gun here.
Yeah.
I actually thought he couldn't see me.
Right.
I don't know what I was thinking.
The one straight down the line.
Careless. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I kind of feel like that might be a really, really big moment in the game. Anyway, tanks off to try and be a nuisance. And now I'm starting to think that the northern building might be the best one to defend.
Right.
So I'm kind of repositioning the tanks somewhat. Like that tank on the victory condition thing is defending the victory condition hex and both buildings potentially. Because I'm a smart guy. I managed to get a fair bit of my force back towards that bottom building, but he's already smoking everything and coming around. There, look at my gun, brilliantly positioned.
Another
Completely
mouth.
got that idea from Dave Moresque.
Yep.
Malfunction. Here we go. Yeah, John's pressing in.
He's going to bring your demo charge into the battlefield now.
Yeah. Now, the thing is, it kind of feels like I'm doing okay, but it's turn 4.
Yep.
The Axis have got the rest of this turn and 3 more turns, and that's the thing that makes it quite difficult, quite challenging for the Russians, I think. Here we. Okay, yeah, he's ganging up on my tank, which I think is a bit unkind. Yeah, there it is. It's gone. Because he only had one of the guns had malfunctioned, I was kind of thinking I had half a chance.
Yeah.
In that little shootout. Okay, I'm not sure what we're discussing there, but this is still German turn 4. He's debogged, and I'm starting to look a little bit weaker in every area now.
Right.
Managed to blow up my tank, which I thought was unfair. Another tank blown up. Yeah, I'm starting to crumble. It's getting past the tipping point in the bottom.
Right.
Try to get back onto that gun. Don't manage it. But I'm looking in some force up at the top. I've got a chance here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so he prep fires. Moving. Oh, what happened to his tank? Anyway, I'm still hopeful, but he's starting to get it. It's the problem with stone buildings, isn't it? Once they get a foothold in, it's difficult to knock them with firepower, it's difficult to get them out. Now he's using the trail brake. He doesn't have to worry about bogging. Yeah, he's coming around. This is a horrible feeling when you start to feel like surrounded by big guns.
Yeah.
I'm braking. This is turn 5.
One of those comments about why you like ASL so much. Someone said about the relief when the scenario's over.
Yeah.
the dissipated headache.
It's like wearing like very tight shoes to work just for the pleasure of getting home and taking them off, isn't it? Okay, so the sort of end game close combats are beginning to take place, and it's
Yeah.
only turn 5. You've got 2 turns to go. Yeah, so and I don't think they go my way particularly. I do seem to be locked in melee. Okay, I guess that's not too bad. It's a lot of melees going on, but he still hasn't rushed the other buildings, so he's still got a chance. And here they come. Here they come. This is turn 6 now, but he's got a lot of guys moving close to
Just
that
straight
building.
through the minefield there. Was that a recalled tank or just didn't care, did he?
I don't know.
Straight through it.
Yeah, I can't remember now. I don't even know if you have to go through them. Okay, we go. Yeah, these close. Can you see me? I'm locked in melee and close combat absolutely everywhere.
Yeah.
And I think we are very close to the end of the game because these close combats don't particularly go my way. And the only one left, gone. Okay, I've still got a 9-1, and he's broken.
Yeah.
So this is the beginning of my phase. Is it
Yeah.
the beginning of my turn? So that leader is broken, and then the melee at the top, I've only got 1, 4, 5, 8, and he's got Untold that's going to be able to get in there next turn. And I think I'm going to concede in a moment. Yeah, this is his turn. Let's see. I conceded. Yeah, there we go. Perhaps I should have made him take the last dice, but it was pointless. He was way too powerful.
But you did average rolling 5s on your morales, your rally checks.
Yeah. I mean, just high for me, I thought.
Yeah.
Do you know what? Like every opponent I play, especially someone who I don't play regularly. Like I've played Dave before, but don't play regularly. Every time I play somebody I don't play regularly, they go, "Let's have a look at the dice politely at the end of the game," and it's always like I've averaged like every shot I took was led by a -2 leader.
It's brilliant because the thing is that
Steve's still. Oh, this is Steve. This is Steve's game, not Dave's game. But so I've noticed the first time that I've ever played Steve. Yeah.
No, you. To be fair, your to hits were 7.67, and your to kills were 8s.
The thing is, it might have been 7.67, which doesn't sound that far off 7, but a lot of them were 12s.
Right.
So I must have had really low the rest of the time. There we go.
And your highest ones were your wind change and your sniper rolls, which were quite nice, 7.6. So, but no, it's all good. It's all good. We've got a game from Tim to look at, haven't we? Next, so let's. Now Tim's done us a video, I think, has he? Or has he done us? He's done us video, right? So let's do another one from Tim showing his game next.
I've not played this one before, and when I looked at this scenario, I have to admit an immediate bias towards bidding for the Germans. On closer inspection, though, it was clear both sides have some good units, and the heavy metal on offer for either player is quite intimidating. Further reading of the SSRs revealed some interesting and challenging terrain for the Germans and some difficult setup choices for the Russians. After talking with my newly met opponent, Doug Leslie, via Discord, we concluded the bidding and I got my choice, the Germans, and Doug got the balance. I had done some brief research while preparing for that moment, but I set about getting my head around things in more detail as I dove into the rulebook and read about elite status, control, checked out the relative armor factors, TK numbers, and special ammo options boosted by eliteness, motion status, and finally but not least, the deep stream and frigid conditions. With the Germans having to navigate the stream or cross the single bridge to get to the victory areas, I pondered my group selection, deciding that the ELR-5 assault engineers were the best units to brave the frigid water, as their replacement would result in splitting into 2 half squads, something that could later be fixed by recombining if necessary. But more on this fallacy later. This supported my early thoughts about the strategy which was to be able to perform some flanking manoeuvres to exploit the early Russian setup if the opportunity arose. Noting that while entering the frigid stream causes CX, there is nothing to say you can't already be CX. By using 9 neg 1 litres in such a stack, they would replace to 8 1 litres. No great loss there, but would allow 8 movement factors and some useful ground could be gained and perhaps some surprise effect. At this point, I was happy to throw in a platoon of 548s with a 9 neg 1 litre and a Stug across the stream, perhaps alongside the 838s, perhaps not. Again, more on this later. The Stug would have to check for bog though, a risk I am still assessing. I also plotted placement of smoke from one or more of the other Stugs, anticipating a fire lane down the only accessible road, and some VVM sleeves to force its cancellation. Thinking this through, I feel the Russians should sacrifice something to slow the Germans, putting a unit in 2A M10 or O12. They won't last long and will be eliminated, but given the other setup restrictions, an LMG, 458 and concealment counter seem a decent choice. The smoke alone won't deal with the fire lane, but will render squad fire and residual firepower ineffective. I also thought that perhaps the King Tigers should come from off-board to avoid that first awful nervous set of start dice rolls for mechanical reliability. My initial plan of attack, absent of the actual Russian setup, is to divide the Germans in two, one to overwhelm one victory condition area, south or north, and the other to pin and isolate other forces so that reinforcements can't be shifted to respond. Of course, this ignores the Russian heavy metal that arrives on turn 2 or 3, but infantry will be needed to control the buildings, and so establishing overwhelming force in one area first and dealing with the infantry there could also be the key to success in the alternate victory condition area. After seeing Doug's setup, I decided to go for the northern victory conditions first, sweeping through the centre, supported by a northern flank force. I will sacrifice some units to replacement to do this and risk a bog coming out of the frigid stream. My first objective is the squad in 2A M10, but I plan to smoke and bypass the location in the movement phase to get in position with most of my force for a jump off on the second objective in turn 2. The Northerners are there to put maximum pressure on 10 FF7. I hope to break and perhaps eliminate these, as they will be in a sticky situation if all goes to plan. The Southerners will go slow. They will recover, ex the leader, from the frigid stream by virtue of the 5 ELR and recombining. Note that during play, this was revisited. More on this later. They won't risk too much, but hopefully make steady progress into the southern part of town, joining the fight for the last victory locations. This plan will surely not survive, but it will give me a skeleton and a way to pace myself and be more deliberate about commitment of forces. I am concerned about the Russian AFVs and also the ability for the Russians to collapse back onto the final objective. I think this is what I would do if I were the Russians. Let's see how it plays.
Okay, so we've seen how Tim is going to conduct the attack. Now,
yes.
If that was me, I would have done that video after I'd played, and I would have retrofitted my attack based on what actually happened to pretend it was all completely planned. But
yeah,
I guess not.
Tim's more honest than you, I think, is the is the thing that's going on here.
Right.
Of course, did Tim did misunderstand the well, we believe misunderstood the rule in terms of infantry going across as riders on tanks.
Yeah.
But there was, I think, quite a few of us played it, in a similar way.
Yeah.
So we have Tim attacking as the Germans, and we have Doug Leslie defending as the Russians.
Okay.
You ready to go?
Absolutely.
Okay. Here we go, and they're off.
Okay, so
So
straight
did he
through the
actually,
stream.
presumably, he reduce the quality
Wow,
of
yeah.
these troops?
That's. I mean, you get a bigger. So we've not seen anybody come across this top stream, which is quite an interesting approach, isn't it? Straight across that
Not
stream.
quite true. So I did have people come across this. So who came across there that I just played? Steve came across there,
the top
but
stream
as
well.
riders,
Right.
and our understanding was that they could do that and that they would be unharmed. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, so he's tackling the old the bridged guards, but he's remained concealed.
Yeah.
I'm a bit surprised.
I guess he's smoked and everything.
Yeah, waiting for a nice big target at the end, I guess. But he did get smoked and then close combat. Okay, already. Hang on. I've got something
now, should they be CX there going into that smoke? +1 for smoke, plus.
It is +1 for smoke, yeah.
No, you're fine then.
Yeah. We got very, very forward Russians. Light -2. Yeah, much more forward. Starting to get.
There's a hidden gun there as well.
Yeah, nice. That is. I would not expect that. I would fall right into that if I was playing. Playing against this defense.
The thing about that though is that the gun's got a lot of work to do there to protect. I know the 9.2 can obviously fire through as well.
Yeah.
But
I guess the thing is, if it discombobulates the attack enough, it could throw somebody off for the whole game. I suppose.
And what's nice about that is you've got this guy here can hit this guy, and this guy here can hit this guy. So you've got some nice. Yeah, it's nice.
Yeah, it's almost like they've thought about it. It's something me and you should consider utilising that in our gameplay.
You wait till I do my PowerPoint plan. I'll show you exactly what I meant to do, and I will malfunction my tank in this square here.
So, okay, got some tiger action. But what are we on? Axis turn 2.
Yeah, they've got a long way, haven't they? They've got a long way.
They've gone a long way. But everything's broken on that top bit by that unexpected gun.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good. Okay.
But it's very lightly defended down here. They're not attacking with a lot at the moment down here.
Yeah.
Russians retreating.
It's interesting because I guess one of the things to ask about a scenario like this is: should you concentrate on taking one and then move on to the second, or should you? It's an interesting question, isn't it? It looks like there's so little brown on the board right now.
Yeah.
And yet, actually, the blue is quite a bit of it's broken. Okay, we're on turn 3, Axis turn 3, and they got some of those really big stacks, and it looks like the heavy machine gun's broken.
Right.
The crew, the
squad.
Squad protecting it, using it. He's starting to flank the position there on the north. Tanks coming through. And you've got more of the Germans being directed towards the southern objectives now.
Yeah, and Tim talks about kind of hitting this top area first, didn't he? And then kind of moving down towards the south. And that's kind of going to plan.
Yes, but you need enough, don't you, to kind of push the Russians back at the bottom, so that at least when you come to attack it, they're not. Yeah. You've done some of the work. Germans definitely moving forward in strength
Russian
now.
tanks not on yet.
No, this is turn 3, so they must be about to come on.
Yep.
As soon as it's the Russian turn 3. Here they are. Yep. Okay.
Right, going to come defend the south.
Oh, 100L.
All right.
And the 50s and 57 WL. So actually, all of the guns have been used in the north.
Yeah.
And I think there's a case, like if it takes too long to take it, it means everything's out of place to take the other building.
And you can reposition like this now without fire.
Exactly right. Getting ready for the onslaught that they know will come. Germans in the building in the top now, but lots of concealed Russians. Difficult to know. Vehicles have definitely moved down. Away from the guns.
Yeah.
it looks like everybody had lots of malfunction guns.
Yeah, yeah.
It looks like the German's got a hero as well. Heroic leader. Oof. Russians breaking in the top. The assault engineers moving in. Flamethrower, no doubt, had a role in that. Now, is Tim going to be able to bring enough to bear at the southern part of the board?
Recall tank.
Yes.
Oh, you immobilised it in his own mine, I think.
Oh, right, yeah. Yeah, Russians disappearing in the top, but they're still strong in the bottom. So we're supposed to keep talking, aren't we?
Just engrossed in it. I'm engrossed in the what's going on.
Me
here.
too. Me too. Exactly.
Yeah. What's going to happen up here?
It's only turn. It's Allied turn 5. So the Germans got 2 more turns, and they are starting to reposition to the south.
Yeah.
But they've already got stuff adjacent to the building.
Yeah. There's a lot. There's guys coming in. I mean. They've made a good press of it. The Russians are here, I think.
Yeah, I think so too. There's still close combats going on. Is there in the?
I think.
Yes, he's still got a crew in the in the top building.
Yeah.
Okay, his days are numbered probably, but it's stopping them a little bit from concentrating on the bottom building.
You couldn't even finish that sentence before that crew got taken out.
Yeah. So how's it going here?
Okay.
Yeah, still got a tank in the building. That's gone now.
Yeah.
So just 1 hex left, isn't there?
Yeah, 3 squads of tank.
Yeah. And they spread back out again. German turn 6. Some ineffective prep fire. And then some effective moving.
Yeah.
When does that happen? Yes. Yeah, it's definitely.
It doesn't look certain, does it? Either way.
It doesn't look certain, no.
Germans got a lot to do. Is this their? I got 1 more turn after this.
Yeah. But they got the defensive fire now, haven't they? And I think that's what's critical here.
Yeah.
And. Okay, and they're advancing. Look very, very close. And they're all
in close combat there.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, so we're down to 2 squads.
So Russians will have to prep fire. Not hugely effective.
Encircled.
Russians encircled. Broken.
Yeah. 1 more to go.
Encircled, broken.
Yeah.
It's starting to look. Are they all broken?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. Okay, so this looks like the end.
Yeah, I think that's the end chat, isn't it? There.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Good game.
Yeah, it was a good game. Good game. Okay. Well played, Tim.
So that was another German win. So how are we doing? It's still reasonably balanced, isn't it?
No, I think isn't it? All of them are German wins. I mean, if that's reasonably balanced in your mind,
we're not sure what happened with me and Dave, are we?
No.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I've forgotten.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
All right. Okay.
Okay. Next one.
Okay. So Paul Legg as the Germans, and poor Steve Hall has to take on the
undefeated so far, not necessarily unwinnable. And this is the Battle of the Brits. Of course, Paul Legg, a long well-established member of the ASL tournament community.
Yes.
And Stephen Hall yet to go to his first tournament, quite new to the hobby.
And I believe that Paul has the most tournament games now, or most tournaments he's been to. I think Paul is now the guy that has had the most plays of tournaments.
Is that right? Because I always thought that was Nigel Blair.
Nigel did have the most games. I think that Paul is overtaken. I think there's something. I think Paul has either been to more tournaments now or has played more games.
Well, no one's been to more tournaments than Pete Phillips. Pete Phillips has been to every tournament, bar one, I think.
but hasn't played in the games.
He hasn't played in all of them. I think that's perhaps true. Yeah. Okay.
Right. So let's have a look.
So we've got Steve's defence there, and I'm assuming there we go. First time I press the arrow, as if by magic, the Germans appear.
All right.
And obviously, a little bit of a chat concealing them, and the off-board guys.
Look at these riders again.
Now we had an extensive debate. Paul wasn't having it that he couldn't do this when we met him at the tournament.
Okay.
But I think in the end, everybody was in agreement that what Paul is about to do is against the rules.
And to be fair, Gary Fortenberry has also weighed on this and has been very clear that
that there's no riders. Yeah,
that's right. Yeah.
Okay.
But anyway.
Yeah. But anyway, we go. It's a little bit of an effort to untangle it in the rules, but I think the rules are clear once you untangle it.
Yeah, my issue with it was that it was really clear if you look at the index, but it felt like the index might have been summarising a little bit too significantly because there was an extra paragraph. Or it just felt like there was one sentence missing in the rules. Now, it's fine. I completely accept that it's correct that the riders can't go through, but anyway.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So we started off with a bit of smoke. Looks like some useful spots, and here they come.
That's
flying across.
I mean, when we got excited about 6Xs, suddenly.
Yes. So Paul's gone a long way at the beginning of this, but actually this is a very rearward defence, isn't it? So I always think it's fascinating that sometimes it's the right thing to do because your force is intact. You wouldn't have slowed them down much anyway. Only broken a couple of squads which will rally.
Yep.
So it's a fascinating question in ASL whether how far forward you set up.
Yeah, it feels like sometimes a small force can disproportionately hold up a larger force. Yeah. And just buys you that last turn that you don't necessarily always see if you've been beaten too quickly. But
and it's 100% that when I don't never know whether to put something up front or not.
Right. Yeah.
But anyway, here he is infiltrating. This is turn 2, I think.
So you already know that the Germans are going to be in for a little bit of an easier time because they've saved at least a turn, haven't they, from how far they've been able to come through.
Yeah.
And they haven't come under fire really.
No.
So
got all the bypass counters out, which is good.
Yeah. I can just imagine Paul's wry smile here. Paul's like this. He's like a silent assassin, really, when he's playing.
He is, isn't he? Yeah.
He's he's the least smug man ever, but he's got this kind of air of he's got you where he wants you. He's a lovely guy. I like Paul. But he's I can imagine him being quite happy with this attack.
Yes. Yeah. It's nice. It looks good.
Now was it true? Did we nearly get Steve going to a tournament? Was he thinking about coming?
Steve was up for going, and in fact, he was going to go to double one, and it's right in the middle of he's a gardener, and it's right in the middle of the gardening season, and it's just too busy.
Okay.
So he couldn't go. I think there's a possibility he might go to double bounding fire or something like that later in the year.
Okay.
It'd be nice to see him actually meet people face to face, though I think he might have played Fraser face to face.
Yep.
They're both very well spoken. I know people accuse me of being well spoken, but Fraser and Steve are both very well spoken gentlemen.
Fraser's another lovely guy. We like Fraser. He's was he Submariner? Was it?
Actually, I have no idea.
I think so.
Maybe somebody was a Submariner. You sure that wasn't Bob?
I think they were both talking about it. I think that's how I seem to remember.
Bob was certainly in the Navy, in the Royal Navy. I didn't know. Yeah, I think I did know Fraser was. Yeah. I think you're right. I think it's Fraser that was a Submariner. Yeah.
And now I think Fraser works for. They say he sells. I think military simulations. Or he's involved in military simulations.
What a fantastic job!
Yeah.
Do you know when I went for my careers interview at school? I said I was interested in war games. Could I do anything to do with that? They laughed at me.
They laughed at you. And then, you know what happened? Phil Draper got that job that you wanted.
Yeah, exactly. And apparently Fraser as well. Yeah. I mean, you can actually study strategic studies at university and things like that, can't you? I mean,
it's crazy.
Would be exactly what I would have wanted.
And do you know what? That one conversation probably changed your life more than you'll ever know. If you have a supportive careers advisor that can say, okay, look, I can look into that for you. Yeah, it's interesting.
That's the thing is, I mean, the thing is, you can't expect them to know everything, but you might be able to expect them to be able to look into things. Of course, it's the days before the internet. Finding information out about something that you don't even know if it exists, is like really, really difficult.
Yes. Yeah.
Meanwhile, I mean, I would have been a useless strategic thinker, so probably good for my country.
You've accentuated the idea of let's have good lucky shots. We'll be all right, boys. Let me show you how it's done.
Any country could invade Britain now if I was in charge of strategic defence. So where are we? What turn are we on? 3, and we've still got a very significant Russian defence.
Yeah, very straight-lined German attack. I mean, look, they're all within 3 hexes of each other there. It's pretty incredible.
Yeah. That's absolutely. The Russians starting to crumble a bit on the top.
Yeah.
But the Russians will crumble. It's just a question of timing, isn't it? Is that a close combat?
Yeah. Now, did he take? He didn't take the 838s by the looks of it. I think he took the.
No, I think this might be the first game where that's what's happened. Yeah. Okay. But he does get a hero, which is, not to be sniffed at.
And we've got this massive, mysterious, close combat going on here. What's going on here? I suppose.
I'm not sure because we can't look at anything because, of course, most of them are concealed.
I assume that's Russian weapons. Maybe they've got in there.
That might be the case. So we still got full defence. It doesn't look like the Russians have really been challenged yet.
Well, in the bottom,
on the south.
Yeah.
Well, they've been challenged now. They're starting to break. Tanks starting to go up.
A blaze going on here.
And in a way, this is one of the things I like about the game. This sense of collapse.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I like defending. I like that feeling of trying to manage that collapse.
Okay.
One of the things I like about it. You might not be able to stop it, but you can perhaps do enough to win.
Now, I can't see these tanks. I don't know if you can see these tanks.
No, so I think that what's happened is that he's not got the concealment counter on. They just, you can kind of, I'm not sure how you do it now, but you're able to conceal it, but it only looks like one concealment counter.
Yeah.
And you often see people a bit new to Vassal doing that.
Okay.
Alex does it sometimes.
Okay.
Okay, how are we doing now? Turn 5, Allied turn 5. So they've got to try and get into some sort of position to hold this off.
Well, they're doing okay here.
Yeah, I agree.
We're going to root for the Russians here, just because they're the underdogs now in this.
Yeah.
This one.
Just because Paul, we don't want him to be smiling with that confident smile.
Yeah.
Right, the tanks have all gone up in the south, so there's nothing to stop the infantry moving in.
Now, whilst we're watching these, I am literally awaiting the decision for the next scenario. We're going to go with Pete Schelling as the next.
Oh, fantastic!
As the next thing, I've been in contact with him, and he's having a think about which scenario to do for us or to recommend.
But he's up for it.
He's really happy that we're going to play one of his scenarios. I mean, like, why wouldn't we be happy playing one of Pete's scenarios? I mean, Pete's
very happy.
Probably most famous. That's the end of the game.
I think Steve's just conceded here. He's got nothing really left. I'm not quite sure what's in here.
Yeah.
But presumably it's broken.
Yeah, and you've got two turns left to go. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Seems a reasonable point to concede.
Yeah. I mean, definitely.
A little bit difficult knowing what things are. You've got the same here, where you've got like a what looks like a concealment counter, but obviously it's a unit without a concealment counter, but concealed.
Right.
I do beg your pardon, but I interrupted you talking about Pete.
No. I mean, the scenario is more important. But I was just going to say, Pete, one of Pete's most famous scenarios he's designed was Urban Guerrillas, which I wonder if he'd suggest that as
played live.
We did play live, but
in front
that would
of
be
the world. The world watched that. Like the Olympics, it was.
Do you know what? It was a finish fit for an Olympic game as well, Because I think it came down to the last dice roll, didn't it? It was.
And do you know what? I don't remember who won. I remember this. I remember that you were winning, and Indy even had to go. I think he had to go off to work or something like that, just assuming that you would win. And I made a massive comeback.
Yeah.
And I actually can't remember who in the end won it. And that's because whenever you get a good finish like that, it doesn't matter who won.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Whereas if you'd smashed me and humiliated me in front of everybody,
I had even forgotten that we'd played.
Really.
Did we really play
it wasn't even the first time we played it. We played it very near the beginning of our sort of association as ASL players.
Yeah, I would be happy if he picks that one. I think that was one of the masterful scenario designs.
So is he also going to do that thing where he's going to tell you his favourite scenario?
Yeah.
In addition to that, the one that he'd like us to play for this. Fantastic. Fantastic. Okay.
All right. Well played, Paul. By the way, let's not distract from Paul's.
Absolutely.
Very neat and tidy. Because again, Paul's a neat and tidy guy. This is a neat and tidy attack, isn't it? I mean, again, they're all within like 4 hexes width-wise. Just like it's like a stroll in the park for the Germans here. So very, very nicely done, Paul. And, unlucky.
And but well done, Steve too. Steve's also, I think, made Paul work for it. And,
absolutely.
Steve's, as I say, relatively new. He's reasonably competent. I've actually played Steve. It's not a walk in the park playing him, but it's still relatively new.
Yeah, nicely done. Yeah, exactly that. Exactly. All right, who's next up then?
Right. Okay. So the next one is a drum roll.
Yeah.
Lucari Albrecht.
Okay. Who's who?
Okay, so I can fill you in on all of that. So we have Tuomo Lucari as the Russians.
Okay.
And Peter Albrecht as the Germans.
Okay. All right. Now, Peter is a new player.
Right.
I don't remember if I gave the instructions to Tuomo, but I remember sort of saying to Peter's potential opponents, be aware he's a new player, might need a little bit of and everybody will be very, very patient. I don't suppose there'll be many people that have got this far in this video and won't have played a lot of ASL, but if you haven't played a lot of ASL and you're a bit nervous about it, if you just mention that you're a new player, people will always go out of their way to just take their time with it. I mean, I know you've certainly done this, Martin. I've watched you, basically talk someone through an entire scenario, and they've come out and won the scenario because you've done a good job of talking them through it. And most people will do that. I mean, they're but yeah. All right, can I synchronize with you?
You can synchronize with me. Yep.
Okay, let's. So that's that. Right. Okay. Let's have a look then. So Peter, that's really interesting because we're seeing Tuomo, who's a very experienced player, very experienced player, and Peter, who's a fairly new player. And it's interesting because I said, let's see what a new player is going to do with or a newer player is going to do with the Tigers
with the tools.
Yeah. So interestingly, so straight away I look at this and I'm interested that the Tigers aren't going up front. So I don't know. Would you push Tigers up front first?
Well, I did. Yeah, I'm happy to do that in a scenario like this. Just because they're invulnerable to anything except the big guns, which are hidden anyway. Yeah,
exactly. But then you've got you've got no minefields to worry about because you won't see them.
Well, there are minefields, but you can see them. But the other thing about Tigers is they have really good machine guns, don't they? It's like 8 if they're 16 if they're adjacent. Yes. So getting them close and getting just to push the Russians away really is, I don't think it's a bad strategy. Anyway.
Yeah, go for it.
I'm a little bit. I'm not 100% sure that he's allowed to set so much off board.
I think you can come from off board on enter on turn one.
That was the option. Yeah. Okay. Right. Well, off they go, and straight away, of course, they've got what I should have had, which is the residual just over the bridge.
Yep.
But anyway.
Yeah.
I don't know why I didn't do that.
If you'd have watched this first, you'd have.
I would have. Yeah. Okay. So there we go. So that's the German moves.
Oof.
I think
lost the squad already.
Yeah,
the machine gun's gone.
Okay.
The prisoners.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. So Russians repositioning to defend now.
Right.
which is Tomo, isn't it? So
Look
getting
at this.
ready for
Okay,
the.
well, I mean, we said that Peter's a fairly new player. I mean,
Mm.
he's doing a very good job.
He's rolled over the speed bumps,
Yeah.
hasn't he? Yeah.
Yeah. But
Okay.
look at the difference. Look at the difference that
Mm.
one squad potentially has made in terms of how far Paul had got to how far Peter
That's
has
true.
got.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Okay, off the Germans come. Now, this, of course, they're starting to come under fire now
Yep.
from the main line of resistance. Look at me with my proper went to university strategic language.
Yeah.
There's three of the minefields, four of the minefields. Okay, so that's the minefields revealed. Okay, starting to get into position to attack the Russian line. I think the reason those stacks are going down so much is that each one has got a concealment counter accidentally on it.
Got it.
What is this? This is Tomo's turn. Is that his advances? Yes. Right, now we got the German onslaught continues.
Okay. So
do you see moving in stacks quite a bit, which is perhaps something you might not see with a.
And the other thing is, compared to some of the more coordinated attacks, it's not quite as coordinated, is it?
Yeah.
If you look at Paul's was a good example.
Yes.
And
just gone through the mines, okay? Oh no, immobile. Yeah.
Okay.
And there's the other tank is immobile, as immobilised. I don't know what happened to that one. The one on the left.
Is that an ESB? Oh, was that maybe a? I don't see any guns that could do it.
No, it must have been ESB. I mean, I had a tank blow up, didn't I, when we were going through? We couldn't work out what blew it up. So, being immobile is nothing. I mean, immobilising without anybody firing at you happens to my car all the time. Okay, so actually, you've got. I still will be. I would be worried if I was Tomo about getting back into the buildings a little bit in the north.
Pete's doing a good job here. So on come the tanks.
Yeah. Oh, he's fine getting back. Okay. So, wow, there's a lot of guys going up that way.
Tanks coming up
tanks all going that way. I think they are. Okay.
Yeah.
So I don't think anyone's quite done it like this, assuming this is Tomo's strategy to defend the north in strength and just leave enough in the south to force the Germans to spend some effort and resources going that way.
Yeah, I mean, you think that the building on the top looks a better building to defend, doesn't it, than the row of houses on the
I think it is.
on the bottom.
That wasn't my initial thought. I thought that it would be the building on the bottom, but actually it is. The building on the top is easier to defend.
Yeah. The danger is you've got to kind of go for the wall advantage, haven't you, really, to stop the Germans getting the wall advantage.
That's right, yeah.
So that means leaving the building, but...
oops. Yeah.
So the heavy and the 9.2 up there, that's an interesting place for them.
Yeah, absolutely.
You kind of feel like they'll end up being quite CX on the getting back.
Oh, look, a gun appeared.
Yep.
I bet all the gun. There's another gun appeared. I bet the hundreds up there as well.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah. So this is we kind of wonder whether anybody would do this, where they would really defend one building.
Yeah. And it's not different actually to, is it Steamroller, the last scenario in that respect, in that kind of making one impossible. I'm not quite sure whether you could do that, make it impossible in this scenario, but you can certainly make it challenging.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it wasn't obvious which one he was going to either, which is clever.
Yep.
Yeah. There you go.
The heavy's been demanned.
Yeah, I suspect Peter's pleased about that, and he's adjacent to it with a big stack.
We've got the immobilised. Yeah, that's immobilised from the mines. But again, that's not a terrible place for the immobilisation there, is it?
No, it could be worse. And I suppose in a way you could say, well, you shouldn't put anti-tank mines where you're going to likely immobilise a tank. I suppose you could destroy it.
Yeah.
So as the odds are in favour of you actually destroying it. Well, the odds are you won't do anything to it.
Yeah, it's true. Okay, the Russians, they're taking out a couple of tanks there.
Yeah.
The 122.
I guess it discourages the Germans from driving through those hexes. I guess that's what the
yeah.
anti-tank mines do. Oh, there's the German flamethrower.
Yep.
I think that has been by far the most popular pick.
Yeah.
So which means that Tomo's falling back. And I mean, what turn are we on? I can't see because
Turn 5.
Turn 5. It's I don't think it looks hopeless for the Germans by any stretch of the imagination.
No. The only downside is they've got a little bit of a mismatch of force down the bottom here.
Yeah.
So they've almost overcommitted down here compared to what they need at the top.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's a game, isn't it? It's not like it's
it's a game, definitely.
So we've lost the tank there.
Yeah. Russians really moving. Got a lot of brokers, but look at that.
That's okay. I mean, look at that. Yeah, there's a lot now.
Nice looking defence now.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. And even the building at the bottom is holding out.
Yes.
That was a dummy, I think.
Yeah. Okay,
That
so
one
he's found one that wasn't here.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, building at the top looking tough.
Yeah. All the tanks moving forward. German tanks starting to close in on this this building at the top. Lots of Russians breaking. I don't think this is.
The 838's getting the job done now.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. The tank flies in.
Yeah.
Destroyed there.
Yeah.
838. I mean, he's got.
This
looks like. Yeah, it looks like a game.
So this is because we are now on turn. Yeah, they've run out of time. Yeah, the Russians are looking strong still in the building on the top.
Yeah. They can't beat the guy in
in
Y7. They can't get here.
Yeah.
But that was well played, Peter. For that was a fairly decent crack at it, wasn't it? And an interesting defence from Timo. So nice. And so we've seen a Russian win as well, which was nice.
Which is nice, yeah.
So
because that is the only one so far, isn't it?
Have we got any other games to go? I think
we have one last game. So we've got a game from Bishop and Bagley.
Okay, all right then. So
I've been looking forward to this one.
All right, so who's who?
So the Bishop is defending with the Russians.
Okay.
And the Germans are Andy Bagley, very own British.
Bishop. And it's safe to say we could say these are both friends of the show. We can say that, can't we?
Absolutely. Yeah.
All right, I'll synchronise with you.
Yeah. Oh, right. I've just had a message from Benjamin Jones.
Okay.
Are we recording yet?
We are recording.
Okay, all right. I just had a message from Ben Jones. Hello, Ben Jones. I'm not going to answer you, so you'll understand why later. In fact, I'm even going to just close that. Okay.
All right.
Then, let's see what Andy made of this.
Okay.
Okay.
So Andy is a very, I would say, a very meticulous, careful player. You're not gonna rush him into any mistakes.
Ultimate gentleman as well.
Very nice guy. Very nice guy.
Is Andy Bagley? Yeah.
What are you gonna say about Jim in comparison? if Andy's the
I wasn't trying to make a comparison.
Jim is also a very, very nice gentleman.
Jim is also a real gent.
Yes,
I would definitely say that. Yeah, very different ways.
Yeah.
If
you had one that had to defend your house with weaponry, I'm going to go with Jim Bishop. And if you've got one that's going to defend it with diplomacy and diplomatic style, I'm going with Andy. But they're both gentlemen.
I think I'm with you on that. I think that's a good way of thinking about the difference between the two of them. If it's diplomacy that you need, definitely not Jim. Sorry, Jim. Sure.
Keep going.
As we began, both of them, both utter gentlemen. So,
yes.
Right. Let's see what Andy Bagley does here. So we got a very forward defence.
Yes.
Or relatively forward defence.
But nothing at the front. Nothing at the front. So.
But nothing at the front. No. Okay.
Here
he
smoke.
comes.
Look at that now. Okay, hang on. Before we do anything else,
Yeah.
Look at the smoke placement there from Andy. That's a great use of being careful, like just
Yes.
covering that gap in the hedge. There.
Yeah. No, exactly
Would you do something like that?
Yeah, well, I wouldn't think of doing that. No, do you know what? I think I even did sort of try and do something like that, but I just malfunctioned all my guns.
All right.
Yeah, no, that's perfect. I sometimes do things like that, and I usually forget.
Right.
That's the truth.
It's nice. And more smoke.
So he's using the dispensers there to make it a bit safer for the infantry. So we've already got some advanced play features here from Mr. Bishop. Not Mr. Bishop, sorry, Mr. Bagley.
Yeah. Yeah, look, then the guys there just have the benefit of the smoke.
Yeah, made the difference. And you got a massive stack of guys able to get quite a long way forward there.
Yeah.
Okay, I think that probably is. It's a little bit of advancing fire. And then we have got the quite a lot of advancing fire. So we can get to advances. Here we go.
Who's your money on because we don't know the result of this one? Who's your money on?
No.
Here?
Okay. So my money would, well, I mean, I do know who won.
Okay, all right.
Because I got the emails originally. So what's your money? Where's your money? I think
Well, okay, so they're both very good players. I think Jim's a very, very strong player. Andy's a very strong player. I mean, obviously, I think Jim. That's a weird noise. Is that a motorbike going past your house?
I'm sorry, that's a motorbike going past the house.
I thought it was your stomach. I think you're really hungry. I think
I would have put my money on Jim before it had started.
I agree with you.
Both of them, but yeah.
I agree with you, and I think that in this scenario, if the styles that our players are playing in, I think that the Germans are a little bit more favoured. So that's why I was interested in seeing if you had a thing. So
I think Jim would be unstoppable with the German OBA here.
I agree.
Yeah. Ultra battle.
Yeah. So exactly that. So I was interested. So I can't tell you who I think is going to win this one.
My suspicion is that Andy would be a better devious, nasty, sneaky defender. I think that's the impression I get, having played him once and beaten soundly. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah, he beat me a couple of times at the tournament. So
yeah,
he's a man on form.
All
right.
So it's Allied turn now, isn't it? Yeah. So we're going to see a little bit of running away. Quite a bit of running away. Okay, so probably depriving him of any shots or virtually every shot. And advances. Okay, so back to German turn 2. Okay, so you've got a couple of units quite far forward, I suppose, to slow the Germans up, but most of it's fallen back. And we haven't had a single gun shown yet.
Right.
Yeah, minefields are beginning to appear. That's been quite a popular place to put minefields, actually. Another minefield. Tanks are through. Still no guns revealed. I think he's playing a very, very cagey game with these anti-tank guns. There we go. We got one. There, yeah. Well,
some dummies there, was it?
No, it was a real unit because you got it up on as a casualty on the turn rep chart. Yeah, 458 with. So that went down without much of a fight. And we got, I'm not sure what's happening here. Just a little bit of a discussion, aren't they? Here we are, tanks coming on. This is turn 2. So Jim was lucky, got the tanks on early. I don't know if that's lucky or unlucky with all those tigers about.
Yeah.
But, yeah. And he's managed to get himself a kill straight off. And a second kill. Jim is very good with tanks.
Yeah.
And he's hull down now, giving him some good position to hold the Germans up when their turn comes. Third tank, and its massive gun. Okay, I think this is the German turn now, isn't it? Oh, no, still got the infantry moving. So he's moving into the victory condition buildings early, earlier perhaps than most other players. Andy going around the top there, flanking that building. Still fighting through the middle, though.
Yeah.
Oops. Okay. tanks coming through. Okay. So that tank's been abandoned. It must. Is it immobile?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess is a deliberate mobilisation shot, presumably from the gun.
From the 757 double.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, to me, the Russians looking pretty intact at the moment.
Yeah. There's not a lot of infantry in this building at the top.
No. Yeah. And let's.
But yeah, Jim's looking in a good position.
Yeah. But we know how quickly these buildings can fall once the Germans are in position.
Yep.
These guys, tanks repositioning. We had a kill straight away.
Oh, that's the 9-2 in there with that. Yeah.
He's not going to miss much, is he?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, that blaze might get awkward in the victory conditions.
It could do. I mean, it's only a vehicle blaze at the moment, isn't it? Right, German turn 4. Right, let's see what Andy's going to do this turn. Pressing in. See, Andy's very methodical here.
Yes.
Willing to just assault move and advance into the stone building in strength for next turn.
Look at that, yeah.
So it's good. Look at that, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's sort of what we were impressed with Paul Legg, but ×3, isn't it? In terms of the ordered advance.
Military parade marching style.
Yeah.
But then, to be fair, the Russians are defending in a very similar ordered fashion, aren't they?
Absolutely, yeah. It's defending those places that allow you to sort of skulk and sneak back as well. It's just difficult in this scenario. And I think that's what makes it challenging for the Russians.
It's that road, getting across that road there. This road down here is tricky.
Oh yeah. You can approach through buildings to some extent, can't you? And actually, the smoke might be helping the Germans. Okay, fine. Oh, we've got some Russian breaks as well in the north. I mean, I call it the north. I've no idea whether it is north actually. That's handy. Russians again in position for the Axis turn 5.
Yeah, the Russians are looking good, aren't they? They've not really been.
I think so. Yeah.
Not really been hurt enough.
No, that's what I feel. On the flamethrower as well.
Like having a chat there, aren't they? They've got got these guys. What's happening?
Okay.
They got
stunned. So that's the end of the game.
So
Jim resigned.
Oh wow. Okay. So what happened there? He stunned the. We got a stun on the 85L.
Yeah.
And Jim's resigned here.
I suppose there's 2 full turns, and I suppose the top building is pretty much going. That was the last of his tanks. I know it's only stunned, but that was the last of his tanks.
Right.
It feels a little bit.
Well, that's a big stun. So isn't that a recall next turn?
Oh, maybe.
If it's a large stun.
Okay, so that's all of his tanks gone.
If that is right. Yeah.
I suppose it still feels a little bit premature, but.
Yeah, I mean he's fully in control of the building at the bottom here,
and in considerable strength with 628s in every hex.
Yeah,
apart from the one with the 458, which has the 50 cal.
And
but I suppose 2 turns to swarm with tanks makes it, perhaps is the perhaps what Jim's thinking in terms of
I mean, so the last thing that happened was Andy rolled a double 1 on an IFT roll, so there may have been a significant.
Yeah,
it may have been this one here into here or something. I don't know.
It might well have been something like that. Yeah.
And
do you know what? I've probably got an explanation on the email.
Okay. Well, have a look at that if you get a second, just to see.
Yeah, sure.
But it looks like it definitely looks like it's swinging in favour of the Germans. But I mean, with only, I suppose definitely 3 turns to go in terms of movement and everything, it probably is It's 70, maybe 70-30 in favour of the Germans at this point.
Yeah.
But
I'll tell you what. I did have. I have got a question for the designer.
okay.
So this is from Tim, who says, sorry, both Doug and I would love to ask the designer, Gary, why he gave the Russians a SAN of 2 while the Germans had a SAN of 3. So that question's out there for Gary. Often these sorts of things, and I can't say that it is, but often the answer's in the description, the historical account, isn't it?
Yeah.
But, I've not read that, so I can't say.
It may be because if you have a high SAN, it affects the tanks if they go CE and you lose too many tanks, and so maybe Gary felt that he didn't want the snipers to be affecting the tank battle.
It might well just be that.
Too greatly. But obviously, you just keep them buttoned up, and that works around. But yeah, Gary, if you've got that, or if you see this, and if you
let us know.
Yeah, if there was any reasons for that. But yeah, what do you think of the scenario then? I assume that's the last one.
That's the last one,
right? Okay, and you didn't get an explanation from Jim or Andy about that game on an email.
I'm having a look.
Right.
I'm having a look, but I'm not finding it at the moment.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So, what did you think of the scenario in general? What was your?
Well, I think it was a really It's an enjoyable scenario. It makes me wonder, because we had it's so in our playings, it so went pro-German. I wonder whether or not it's perfectly balanced. And I would never question Gary Fortenberry because
because you're scared of him.
The guy is working on a different level to me, but it's certainly on the little set that we have, it appears to be unbalanced, doesn't it, a little bit?
Yeah, and I think the key thing here for me is that we have all played this once. Generally, I mean, I know you played it a couple of times, but it may be one of those scenarios where you need to work on, there has to be a couple of set things you have to do as a Russian. So, for example, cover that first hex bridge, with something that can put some residual down. You should place the anti-tank guns in a certain hex to get the maximum benefit of all of it. The scenario to me I enjoyed the scenario. I mean, don't get me wrong, I enjoyed it. It felt more forgiving for the Germans. You have good morale. The Russians are struggling a little bit in terms of their numbers of units they've got. The tanks are obviously in favour of the Germans. But it was a good fun scenario. I liked the map. I thought that was a nice, clever map. An interesting. I think the only detraction was that the choice about going through the stream or across the bridge wasn't significant enough, because you couldn't really put enough firepower on the bridge to force the Germans to really think about, is it worth me trying to clear this route through for the bridge, or should I just take the ELR?
So that's true. And so what looked like an interesting dilemma perhaps wasn't as interesting at the end of the day. I think once everyone understood the rules, I think most of us would have gone over the bridge with the vehicles, because they've only got the risk of bogging, haven't they?
Yeah, exactly.
I'm just looking up on the ASL scenario archive, and it's not dramatically skewed at all. So Germans 83, Russians 74 on Raw.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think you can ask for it to be much closer than that, realistically.
Absolutely.
Perhaps a little bit less even on the archive, which is 25-15 in favour of the Germans. But even then, not 15 is a significant number of Russian wins, isn't it? It'd be really interesting. I know we can't do this in every scenario, but it'd be really interesting to get somebody, like Toby, to kind of analyse the defence of something like this. And I wish Toby was in the tournaments, because it would be lovely to see how he copes with what, on our small number of planes, looks a little bit easier on the Germans, to see what he would make of it. I mean, I would put my money on not beating Toby if I was playing as the Germans. I would put good money on that.
Would you play him in? I mean, if you make it to a tournament, would you give him a friendly game of this to see his defence?
Certainly, I'd love to play. I think it's 100% an enjoyable scenario. In some ways, it's what ASL is like. It's sort of almost a standard ASL game, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. Building control, vehicles, guns, good German units.
It's got it all without being
flamethrowers.
excessively complex and complex SSRs and things like that.
Yeah.
I would absolutely play this again. I would love to play Toby.
Yeah.
On a scenario like this.
And to be fair to you, you played it straight away again against Steve, didn't you? So you were happy to. It wasn't one of the scenarios where you think, I've kind of seen everything like I need to see in this scenario.
Do you know what though? It wasn't. It was close when I played Dave Moresque. In fact, I know that I won now because I just found he's put it on the ASL scenario archive game. So it was my win.
Until he sees that last move.
Totally misremember that. But yeah, it was close. And there were quite a few of these games which weren't close, and there were quite a few that were. So it's interesting.
All right, okay. You are going to do the round. You'll do the drawings for the next round. I will let you know as soon as I hear from Pete about his choice of scenario.
Yeah.
I want to finish by giving a little story. Now, this has done the rounds on YouTube, so people may have seen this, especially if you are on the number file. I don't know if you can see the number file videos, the maths guys, but you might not come across this. So during the war, and I'll paraphrase this and I'll mess up the story. So by all means, look up the true story of this. But during the war, the British needed to find out, the Allies needed to find out how many tanks the Germans were developing to try and get an idea for what the rate of attrition was and things like that. And so they sent the spies out to try and figure out, okay, how many tanks are the Germans producing? And I don't remember at what stage in the war. Let's say 1942 or something. I don't know. And the spies came back and said that they were producing around 1,500 tanks per month. And then they asked the mathematicians as well to come up with a number. And what they did was they noticed that the serial numbers on tanks, there's different serial numbers for every part of a tank, the German tanks, because of course the Germans meticulous in there, making sure that they're going to study, where everything's been built from to make sure the supply is correct and that, any problems are found in the field, they'll trace it back to the factory. So they had serial numbers on the turrets and on the tracks and on the gearboxes and everything like that. And they were kind of encoded, but there wasn't an encoding element to it. But they said that the gearboxes effectively were serial numbered 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 every month. That's kind of how it was. So the mathematicians were able to, they basically sent out a directive to the troops. If you came across a burnt out tank or whatever, a taken out tank, you had to let them know the serial numbers of the tanks to report back. So they got the number of different serial numbers, but you only get, I don't know, let's say you destroy 10 tanks in a month, I don't know. You only get a sample size of 10 to try and figure out how many tanks the Germans are doing. But statistically, you can work it out. And they do this experiment on the video where they show you if you try, basically, you could draw ping pong balls from a bag of an unknown quantity. But if they're uniquely and sequentially numbered, you can work out roughly how many there are based on the proportion of the numbers. So they said
very clever maths, isn't it?
So the mathematicians predicted, and this was an average over 3 months, I think it was at the end of the story, but they predicted 157 tanks a month is what the Germans were producing. The spies are saying 1,500. And the actual number was 156. Because at the end of the war, they were able to look into the details and find out it was 156.
They didn't get it right.
You're completely wrong, yeah. But really interesting.
So that's a true story.
True story, yeah.
I mean, you've made the numbers up slightly, but broadly that's
the number. So there was a paper written about it, and they said that the paper shows the story, which is that story that spy said 1,500 and the maths said 157. That was derived from averages over three different months. So it wasn't like they got it exactly that close on their first kind of guess. But if you take it on average, that's kind of how close they were based on the stats of serial numbers. So so it was interesting. But
it's very interesting. Yeah.
Now I know how many tanks.
Like that is so important, aren't they? I suppose, and you're planning to defeat somebody.
I know how many tanks. I know how many tanks you're going to lose because I just count them before I get the scenario out.
And you're never out, never wrong.
All right, Martin. So we will continue our game of Nothing Like a Rock or something, which is quite a big scenario. So we're taking our time with that one. But we'll be back.
This is not a rock.
Yeah. And we've no feedback yet from Pete, but when that comes in, we will know what scenario we're playing. You'll do the draw. Yeah. We're on the semi-final, is it?
So we are down to no. Hang on, we're down to we'll be down to 4 players.
Okay.
In the winners bracket, the winners bracket.
And of course, we haven't
semi-final.
we haven't sorted out a prize yet. We've got to get that prize going. I guess we will be contacting our resident diorama.
So in fact, this is the quarterfinal then.
Well, if there's 4 left, it's semi-final.
Is that the one just before the final? I always get that muddled up. I mean, how would you even know? Well, it doesn't even make any sense. Quarter and semi. I don't get that. Okay. So the quarterfinal is before the final.
No, well, yes. I mean, they're always every round is before the final, but it goes quarter-final, then semi-final, then the final.
Right. Okay. So we're now going into the semi-final.
We are. Yeah. If there's 4 players left, because there'll be 2 games.
Okay.
2 games. So,
yeah, I know that bit. I know the last bit. I mean, what is a semi? I mean, the last time I answered that question
at school. Now you're no longer a teacher.
I got a completely different answer. Yeah. Okay.
All right. Okay. Yeah. So that's exactly right. Anything else, Martin? Before you
no, I don't think so. I think we're
get
good.
us taken off the air.
Yeah. Take it. Thank you, everybody.
Yeah. Thanks again for the patrons. Thanks for everyone who's taking part of the tournament. Thank you for taking a look at the scenarios that we did. Thank you for taking part of the conversation. Yeah. If you thoughts about the scenario, thoughts about anything else, let us know. Stay in touch. And until then, we will see you all soon.
Take care.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.
Bye.